Step into the darkest corners of human history as we recount tales of the 25 most terrifying serial killers. Brace yourself for a chilling journey into the minds of these infamous villains whose heinous acts have left a permanent mark on the world. Our journey begins with Derek Todd Lee, the Baton Rouge serial killer. This seemingly ordinary Louisiana man shocked the nation with his brutal murder spree, claiming the lives of 7 women between 1992 and 2003. His crimes remain a chilling reminder of the evil that can lurk next door. Number 24, we meet the terrifying figure of Gheorghe Dinka, the monster of Caracal. With case of kidnapping, rape and murder of 2 teenage girls in the town of Caracal, Olt County. Following Ramirez is Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer. With at least 49 confirmed victims, Ridgway's long undetected killing spree in Washington state set a frightening record for the highest number of murder convictions in US history. Next, we present the notorious Aileen Wuornos. As one of the few female serial killers, Wuornos' story is a twisted tale of violence and vengeance. Her murderous rampage claimed the lives of 7 men, presenting a chilling female perspective on serial homicide. Number 21 introduces us to Dennis Rader, infamously known as BTK, Bind, Torture, Kill. Toying with authorities through cryptic letters, Rader stalked his victims before breaking into their homes, then bound their limbs before strangling them. At 20, we find David Berkowitz, the son of Sam. Operating in New York City during the summer of 1976, Berkowitz's shooting sparked widespread panic, introducing the world to the terrifying concept of a serial killer who kills without motive. Next is Alexander Pichushkin, also known as the Chessboard Killer. His murderous ambition was to fill a chessboard with victims, each kill representing a square. This twisted goal made him one of Russia's most prolific serial killers. At 18, we encounter the deadly partnership of Ian Brady and Myra Hindley, the Moors murderers. The victims were between 10 and 17 years old and were sexually assaulted before being brutally murdered. 3 of the victims were discovered in graves dug on Saddleworth Moor, and the last victim's body was found at Brady's house. Next, we delve into the chilling story of Andrei Chikatilo, the Butcher of Rostov. He committed the sexual assault, murder and mutilation of at least 52 women and children in Russia between 1978 and 1990. He confessed to a total of 56 murders and was tried for 53 of these killings in April 1992. Number 16 introduces us to the daunting figure of Ted Bundy, an American serial killer and rapist who kidnapped or overpowered numerous young women and girls during the 1970s. Bundy typically approached his female victims in a public place and led them to secluded areas where he would sexually assault and kill them. He decapitated at least 12 victims and kept the severed heads in his apartment as trophies. Halfway through our countdown is John Wayne Gacy, known as the Killer Clown, an American serial killer and sex offender who raped, tortured, and murdered at least 33 young men and boys in Norwood Park Township near Chicago, Illinois. At 14, we recount the chilling tale of Charles Manson and his murderous cult, the Manson family. Manson's manipulative control over his followers and his orchestration of horrific murders has made him an enduring symbol of the potential for evil within us all. Next on our list is the infamous Zodiac Killer, the pseudonym of an unidentified serial killer who operated in Northern California in the late 1960s. The case has been described as the most famous unsolved murder case in American history. It became a fixture of popular culture and has inspired numerous amateur detectives to attempt to solve it. Number 12 takes us across the Atlantic to England, where we explore the sinister deeds of Peter Sutcliffe, the Yorkshire Ripper. In 1981, Sutcliffe was convicted of murdering 13 women and attempting to murder 7 others. He targeted prostitutes in Leeds and Bradford, causing a climate of fear across northern England. At 11, we delve into the horrifying story of Jeffrey Dahmer, the Milwaukee Cannibal, an American serial killer and sex offender who raped, murdered, and dismembered 17 men and boys between 1978 and 1991. He also committed necrophilia and ate parts of his later victims, dismembering and cooking parts of their bodies. Breaking into the top 10 is the haunting figure of Daniel Camargo Barbosa. Barbosa was a serial killer who was believed to have raped and killed over 150 young girls in Colombia and Ecuador during the 1970s and 1980s. He confessed to killing 72 girls in Ecuador since escaping from a Colombian prison. At number 9, we encounter Richard Kuklinski, known as the Iceman. A mafia hitman with over 100 kills to his name, Kuklinski's cold-hearted efficiency and remorseless brutality have marked him as a chilling figure in criminal history. Next, we present Robert Hansen, the Butcher Baker. He abducted, raped, and murdered at least 17 women in and around Anchorage, Alaska. He hunted many of them down in the wilderness with a Ruger Mini 14 and a knife. At number 7, we recount the gruesome tale of Ed Gein, whose horrifying crimes inspired classic horror films like Psycho and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. His macabre fascination with human body parts has made him an iconic figure of terror. At 6, we meet the notorious Serhiy Tkash. He was arrested at his home in Polochai and admitted to his crimes, claiming to have killed over 100 people until his arrest and demanded the death penalty. In 2008, after a year-long trial, Tkash was sentenced to life imprisonment for the murder of 37 women and girls over more than 2 decades. Breaking into the top 5 is Pedro Lopez, known as the Monster of the Andes, is a Colombian serial killer, child rapist, and fugitive who murdered a minimum of 110 people, mostly young women and girls, from 1969 to 1980. Lopez claimed to have murdered over 300 people. At number 4, we meet Luis Garavito, the Beast. In October 1999, he confessed to committing the rape, torture, mutilation, and murder of 147 minors, predominantly young men and boys in Western Colombia. Next, we recount the chilling story of Yang Xinhai, was a Chinese serial killer who confessed to committing 67 murders and 23 rapes between 1999 and 2003. He was sentenced to death and executed. He was dubbed the Monster Killer by the media. At number 2, Richard Ramirez, better known as the Night Stalker. Terrorizing Los Angeles in the mid-80s, Ramirez broke into the homes of many of his victims and then shot, stabbed, raped, and mutilated them. His victims ranged between the ages of a 9-year-old girl to a married couple in their late 60s. Finally, the most terrifying serial killer of all time is Harold Shipman, known as Dr. Death. Responsible for an estimated 250 deaths, Shipman's exploitation of his trusted position reveals the darkest potential of the human soul. It was later established Shipman had purposely injected fatal doses of the drug in a huge number of patients, causing their death. He then forged their wills so he could inherit large sums of money and completed cremation requests to destroy the victims' bodies. That concludes our chilling journey through history's 25 most terrifying serial killers. Each story serves as a haunting reminder of the darkness that humans can be capable of, forever echoing within the annals of crime.